Hello and welcome to In Depth. I'm Tina Jha. The Pulwama terror attack that claimed the lives of 40 CRPF personnel on 14th February was coordinated through virtual SIM or virtual phone numbers. Officials investigating the case have revealed that the suicide bomber Adil Dar was in constant touch with Jaish-e-Mohammad handler in Pakistan through a virtual SIM number. The user gets a virtual SIM by downloading an application of the service provider on his smartphone. He gets a number from the service provider after getting a verification code. Mobile numbers of the virtual SIMs used by terrorists who carried out the Pulwama attack were prefixed by +1, the area code of the United States, which means that the virtual SIM was generated by a service provider in America. India will now send a request to the US seeking details of the service provider of virtual SIMs who perpetrated the February 14th attack. In addition, details on who activated the virtual SIM and internet protocol addresses will also be sought. Today in In-Depth, let's understand what virtual SIM is. How does the technology work? How did terrorists of the Jaish-e-Mohammad get access to virtual SIMs and how it helped them to avoid being tracked? So the probe into the Pulwama terror attack has revealed that the terrorists used advanced communication technology to stay in touch with each other during the planning as well as execution of the attack. Pulwama bomber Adil Dar and his handlers across the border communicated with each other using virtual SIM cards. India is now seeking details of the service provider from the United States of America so as to ascertain the identity of the terrorists involved in the attack. One of the deadliest attacks on security forces in Jammu and Kashmir. 40 CRPF personnel martyred, several injured as an explosive-laden SUV rammed into a convoy. The probe has now revealed that the suicide bomber Adil Dar and his Pakistan-based handlers belonging to the Jaish-e-Mohammad were in constant touch with each other, making use of a new technology, the virtual SIM. Dar was also in touch with the mastermind of the attack, Mudassir Khan, using the virtual SIM. Khan was killed in the encounter in Tral following the Pulwama attack. The probe has also revealed that the virtual SIM used in the Pulwama attack was generated by a service provider in the United States of America.
One of the places that it can be used by a terrorist network. Now, in this particular case, it has been used by a terrorist network, the Jaish-e-Mohammad, in the Pulwama attack, in which the attacker had a virtual SIM. And he was receiving his instructions from the Jaish-e-Mohammad, which was located in Pakistan. Now, it becomes very difficult for the intelligence agencies in India to actually stop anything of this nature from happening. And that becomes a security challenge.
Using virtual SIM cards is a fairly new approach being used by the terrorists across the border to stay in touch. With a virtual SIM connection, one does not need a local registered SIM card to get an active mobile connection. In this technology, the computer generates a phone number and the user downloads an application of the service provider on their smartphone. The number is linked to social networking sites like WhatsApp, Facebook, Telegram or Twitter. The verification code generated by these networking sites is received on the smartphone and the user is all set to use the phone. The official said the numbers used were prefixed with +1, the mobile station international subscriber directory number used for the United States.
You see, in this Pulwama attack, one of the things which is required is because it is a very sophisticated attack. What has happened was that here is a person who has an explosive-laden vehicle and he comes and he joins up with the convoy of the CRPF, which is moving from Jammu to Srinagar. Right? Now, it requires very high degree of coordination and precision. That means there are other people also involved in the chain who are giving information as to the movement of the convoy, right? So it won't be just one SIM card. There will be other SIM cards, virtual SIM cards, along this entire chain. And these people would have been passing information on to their central control agencies at the Jaish-e-Mohammad headquarters in Pakistan. Now, what that headquarter would be doing is at a certain point of time, it will pass instructions to the car. Right? It is not just this one person, this one individual who was the bomber who killed himself. There will be others involved in that chain also, because the bomber won't have control of the vehicle for the entire duration of time. Right? So there would be a time lag in which the vehicle proper will be handed over by the terrorist organization JEM to the bomber. Now that instruction will again come through a virtual SIM, right? And after that, for the last say 1 hour or say one or 2 hours, it will be the bomber who will be in control, in direct contact with the JEM handlers, and that person will tell him where to move.
India is now sending a request to the United States for details from the service provider of virtual SIMs used by the Pulwama bomber and his handlers. The request to the US will include details of phone numbers that got in touch with the virtual SIM. Security agencies are now tracking who paid the virtual SIM provider and who activated it. However, there are chances that the terror groups used forged identities, as was done during 26/11 Mumbai terror strikes, which made use of a similar technology. During the Mumbai terror attacks probe, it was found that an amount of $229 was wired to Calphonex via Western Union money transfer. The money was sent to activate voice over internet protocol used during the terror strikes. The money was received from Medina Trading, located in Brescia in Italy. The Italian police concluded that the Brescia-based company made several transfers using the identity of innocent, unsuspecting persons whose identity cards or passports might have been stolen. With input from Leena Sharma, Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha TV. Virtual SIMs offer a variety of conveniences for the user. With the help of service providers, security agencies can also access them to know who made the calls to and from these numbers. Let's consider in greater detail how these virtual SIM cards work. Virtual services came into vogue in the mid-1990s as a way to combat long-distance phone charges. The main difference between a virtual SIM and a conventional SIM card is that all features and contents are downloaded directly to the phone into an app instead of a physical SIM card. In other words, a virtual SIM is a technology that replaces traditional plastic SIM cards and integrates its operation in the mobile device.
There are many websites and companies in the world which basically procure SIM cards from different companies across the world, and they aggregate them and put them together and provide them available online. So, there are companies across US and Middle East where you can go and pay say $15 and you can buy the number of any country, and that is technically a virtual number because you do not have a physical SIM. So you've paid them $15. That SIM automatically gets activated on that website. So you can receive and send messages using that virtual number. You can activate WhatsApp because you can receive OTPs and all those things. So technically, that SIM is lying remotely somewhere else in the world. It is not a physical SIM, but you're able to use it because it is a virtual number sort of stuff you have.
It is an eSIM that involves a dummy SIM card that does not have a fixed number. How it works is that the eSIM card is purchased online and a new number is tied to it. This new number functions like a regular phone number, operating out of a conventional SIM card without the need for an internet connection to place calls. In the same way, when a number needs to be changed, it can be replaced by attaching a new number to the same SIM. The use of such a service will entail using the mobile network of the eSIM provider and using a phone without additional security or encryption. This also means that while users might not be able to access someone's encrypted phone records, the service provider will have a database of all calls, messages, and other forms of activity from a virtual SIM. This helps security agencies as well. For instance, in order to locate a terrorist who used a virtual SIM, security agencies need to only approach the service provider who gave the terrorist the number. The service provider can then dig out from his server information about the buyers and the associated IP addresses. Details of phone numbers dialed from the virtual number can easily be sought. There are some very obvious advantages of a virtual SIM card. To start with, they are friendly with the environment since it does not need plastic. It also does not suffer wear or deterioration due to its use. Further, it improves security. In case of theft, thieves will not be able to extract the SIM card. It also means saving space in the devices by not having to reserve a space.
The thing is, it is very convenient for use for travelers. So if a person has to travel across 3 to 4 countries, right, and let us say he has to travel in a very short time frame, well, then virtual SIM is something which really helps him out. He has got a number which he generates, and then he can talk to people in any of these countries.
There are several other advantages of virtual SIM cards. For one, device manufacturers do not have to accommodate a SIM card slot in their phones. That gives them more flexibility in terms of design. The virtual SIM card can actually be embedded into the device's internal hardware, which could lead to thinner phones and probably more efficient battery. Virtual SIM cards allow instant change of a service provider operator. It would be enough to scan a QR code provided by the operator and have the virtual SIM configured. Simply activate the eSIM on the desired device and you are done. Although for now, using an eSIM needs a compatible phone. In addition, we need to make sure that our operator can offer compatibility with the eSIM. With inputs from Leena Sharma, Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha TV. Time for a short break on the program. On the other side, we'll talk about the new generation SIM cards. Do stay with us.
Enter the majestic forecourt of Rashtrapati Bhavan and you'll come across the Jaipur column. A gift to the Viceroy from Savai Madho Singh, the Maharaja of Jaipur, to commemorate the creation of the new capital. The 145-meter high column is crowned with 6 pointed crystal stars on a bronze lotus, and inside the stone shaft runs a steel tube which weighs a little more than 5 tons. The base of the column has text conceived by Lord Irwin and Sir Edwin Lutyens inscribed on it.
Watch The Big Picture with me, Frank Rausen Pereira, at 6:30 p.m.
The Qutub complex in Mehrauli is not just a place that houses the eponymous Minar, but also a landmark that represents one's ruler's desire to build an even taller structure that could have overshadowed even the Qutub Minar. Alauddin Khilji, who called himself Sikandar-e-Sani or the second Alexander, had commissioned the construction of Alai Minar. Though the work had begun on the structure opposite Qutub, due to death of Khilji, the construction was abandoned, never to be taken up by any other ruler. Even in its incomplete state, the magnitude of Alai Minar is awe-inspiring. It stands a lot wider at the base than Qutub Minar, and though just one story exists, it stands 80 feet, 1/3 the size of older counterpart. Probably the only unfinished monument in Delhi is a marvel to behold, for nothing induces more wonder than a strong first step with an illusion of how great things could have been.
Tales that inspire. Stories of social change. A salute to diversity. Promoting public discourse. Events that motivate. Inspiring the innovative spirit. Watch Rajya Sabha television documentaries.
Welcome back. You're watching In Depth. SIM cards are essentially the brain of your phone, keeping you in touch with telecom service providers. They store information required for user authentication in a mobile device. The first SIM card was developed in 1991 by a Munich smart card maker who sold the first 300 SIM cards to the Finnish wireless network operator Radio Linja. The first SIM card was about the size of a credit card. Since then, there have been several updates making these SIM cards smaller and smaller. But the purpose of a SIM has not changed by any of the technological evolution. SIMs have always been and will always be a way for people to have a secure method of accessing a phone company network. In our next report, we look at the new generation SIM cards. A subscriber identity module or subscriber identification module, widely known as a SIM card, is an integrated circuit that securely stores the International Mobile Subscriber Identity or IMSI number and its related key. These are used to identify and authenticate subscribers on mobile telephony devices like mobile phones and computers. A SIM card contains its unique serial number or ICCID, International Mobile Subscriber Identity Number or IMSI number, security authentication, a list of the services the user has access to, and 2 passwords, a personal identification number or PIN, and a personal unblocking code or PUC for PIN unlocking. It is also possible to store contact information on several SIM cards. SIM cards are always used on GSM phones and CDMA phones and can also be used in satellite phones, smartwatches, computers or cameras. The use of SIM cards go back to early 1990s. SIM cards in the full form of full, mini, micro and nano are still prevalent, but in a world that is increasingly digital and virtual, the use of embedded SIMs or eSIM, soft SIMs and virtual SIMs are starting to gather pace. Unlike the SIM card inserted in your mobile, virtual SIMs are not attached to a mobile phone and are created online to help in communication. It is a cloud-based number that can be used from any device via an app. To use this, customers sign up for a service by installing an app on their mobile phones. This app generates a phone number without linking it to a physical SIM and syncs it with an email account or a social network. The app also lets users link multiple numbers with a single account. InstaVoice, ReachMe are some of the apps that allow users to communicate via any device as long as the app is installed.
Now, virtual SIM is a computer-generated SIM, and there is a firm. There are the firms in the United States which actually generate a SIM card. Now, it is working on the in the virtual world, and it is being used as of now in about 50 odd countries. Now, the advantage of a virtual SIM is that once you get a SIM card of this nature, you do not require the local SIM card. Right? Like let us, if you're looking at India, then you know when you have to get a SIM card, you've got to give your proof of address, proof of identity, and various other documents which may be required to get a SIM. But here it is a virtual SIM. It is there for us for a period of time, and you don't require any identity. So how this works is that you simply apply for it. You make the payments in the method which has been asked for, and you will be given a one-time password. Now, this one-time password can come on any of your applications. It could come on WhatsApp or Facebook or any of the social media applications. You apply that, and now you have got a virtual SIM which will work in your mobile phone. You simply apply that. Now, you can go to any of these 50 countries where this virtual SIM is working and use it up to the extent of money which you have paid for its usage. So let us say if it has got adequate amount of funds, then you can actually make that many number of calls. So it is an economic instrument.
eSIM simply means an embedded SIM card permanently placed in devices which connects to the internet. They are integral to the device, which means they cannot be removed. The information on an eSIM is rewritable, meaning the user can decide to change operator with a simple phone call. One of the advantages of eSIM technology is that it makes much easier to switch telecom service providers. eSIM is a global specification by the GSMA which enables remote SIM provisioning of any mobile device. Remote provisioning is the ability to remotely change the SIM profile on a deployed SIM without having to physically change the SIM itself. Apple recently introduced the Apple SIM, which uses remote provisioning rather than the traditional SIM card approach. A soft SIM is a collection of software applications and data that perform all of the functionality of a SIM card but does not reside in any kind of secure data storage. The information is held in memory and processor of the device. Many phone companies are against soft SIMs because they are perceived as more exposed to the question of hacking. Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha TV. That's it from us today in In-Depth. We'll be back same time tomorrow with an in-depth analysis of some other subject. You can also watch our episodes online on YouTube and Twitter and send us your valuable feedback and suggestions. Thank you very much for your time.